From then on out, I will do anything in my power to get one more bite.
5 fish needs 27-1 to take the lead, 25 pounds, and Stone Cold Kyle Welcher is your 2023 Angler of the Year.
I have like this crazy thing where I want to one-up myself every single year. I want to do better and better and better and better. Like if I see somebody do really, really well in tournaments or for a year, I don't ever think like, I'm gonna beat him next year. You know, I always think about, I need to be better next year than I am right now. I remember when I was in high school, that was the first time that high school bass fishing became a thing in Alabama. Them tournaments back then felt like the Bassmaster Classic. Like they felt like that was the only thing that mattered that day. And that's how professional fishing feels now. Like when you blast off, the only thing that matters is catching bass, and you almost go into this kind of you forget about the world kind of focus, and you're out there for the entire time just trying to get a bite. And those tournaments felt exactly the same. Now, there's a lot more on the line. It's a lot more important that I do well, but it kind of feels the same. Big and dude, giant. Oh my gosh. Freaking giant one. Yes, baby. Gosh, dude. Here, this is a giant. Dude, give me some, baby. That's unbelievable. I did start off fishing. I played poker after, but I started off, you know, I grew up in East Alabama. Everybody fishes. Everybody's uncle fishes, everybody's mom fishes, like everybody fishes where I live. So it was kind of one of those natural things where, you know, everybody fished, and I always had an infatuation with it from a young age. Like even like 3 years old, my birthday present was always a fishing rod. Like that's what I always wanted. But it became to a point where, you know, fishing had a kind of a hard stop on it in my area until you went to the high levels and fish professionally. So it was a kind of a natural transition for me to start playing poker. And the first time I ever played poker, actually, I was 12 years old, and we had a tournament at Thanksgiving. My whole family did. I mean, dude, my family's gamblers, but there was probably like 15 of us playing at Thanksgiving, and I actually won the tournament. It was a $20, I've never hardly played poker. It was a $20 entry fee. I won the tournament, and you know, gambling is almost taboo to try to depend on it. So, you know, my family, except for my grandmother and my now wife, everybody basically told me that, you know, it's gambling. You win this week, you lose this week. You know, that's just what happens. Like it's up and down, up and down, up and down. So even whenever I first would go, you know, and then win money in local games or go to Florida or whatever and win, I kept very detailed track of it. Like I would write down on a notepad how many hours I played, how much money I won, the average buy-in that I had, and I did that for, you know, just days and days and days and days. And then I started playing on the internet. And whenever I played on the internet, you could put in so much volume, because if you're playing at a normal live table, in an hour you see about 30 hands. When I'm playing on a computer, I can play 3 or 4 tables at one time. And when I play 3 or 4 tables at one time, the average table online, you're seeing 50 hands. So, or more sometimes. So sometimes 60 or 70 hands. So now I'm playing 200 plus hands in an hour, whereas if you play it at a live table, you're seeing 30 hands an hour. So whenever you can put that kind of volume in online and actually see that there's a profit that's steady over time, that's how you realize that there's variance, but you can have an edge. And this is what I used to do. I would play poker at night on the internet, and I would play poker at night, and then the site that I was playing on, after 24 hours, it would show you all the cards. So I would play, and then I would write down the hand number. If I got into a weird spot where I didn't know what to do, I would write down the hand number, and then I would write down my initial thoughts on the hand and what I did correctly and not. I would go back and re-look at the hands from over 24 hours ago, and then I would write down the actual thoughts and what actually happened and how I should have been thinking. So I did this for months. Like almost every single day I would play at night, and then I would review in the morning, then I would play at night, then I would review in the morning. So I did this for a long time. And after I did that for a long time, then I started playing in real life. The game was very easy. Then it finally got to the point where me and my now wife would go to Florida for like I was probably 20 years old. We went to Florida and we stayed for like 2 months. Like we took like $2,000 down there, and then I played poker every day, and we ate fancy restaurants and traveled around Florida and stayed for a long time, just going everywhere in the summer because she was in college. And then we came back, and then I kind of realized how much money I had made because I kept track of it, and how much money I had spent. So the next time it was all about being as inexpensive as possible and trying to save money. And then from then on out, the mindset completely changed from, you know, enjoying it and just kind of traveling and it kind of being a hobby to pay for travel expenses to a way to make money and kind of track it. So I actually turned 21 in a casino in Biloxi, Mississippi at midnight. When I turned 21, I walked into the poker room, never got ID'd, walked straight to the poker room and played. And there's a guy, if I see him in Biloxi still to this day, he'll talk about that night because I could not lose a hand. It was unbelievable. Like nobody could beat me that night. I was playing a small game, but it was just crazy. It just, you know, I just won and won and won and won and won. And then, but I was already in the point then of, you know, trying to save money and be as inexpensive as possible. But I would always come home and fish BFLs or tournaments. I always came back and fished a lot of tournaments, even in that time. But from the time I was 18 until my second year on the elites, I still played poker a ton, and that was a big chunk of my income. It was all of my income for a long time. And then after I started transition, you get out of it what you put in poker or fishing. So it came to a point where you can't toe the fence and you can't do both. So if I wanted to make my career in fishing what I wanted it to be, you got to completely stop and play poker as a hobby sometimes, but with all the sponsor obligations and how much work you need to be doing on social media, stuff like that, it's just not feasible to go play, you know, 150 hours of poker a month. Like you just can't do it. So I had to kind of transition, and fishing is my #1 passion. So it was not a hard transition. I would definitely rather be fishing. So that's the first boat right there. That's the infamous Bandit. I say that in all my YouTube videos. That's the first boat I ever fished out of. That was the boat my dad had when I was growing up. The Bandit, my dad had that boat. I mean, it's like a 1982 Alumacraft Bandit. It used to have I used to call it a 50-50 motor. It's 50-50 if it was gonna crank. And then we would always, what we would do is we would put in at the boat, and then we would try to crank it. We were young, we didn't know anything. It would either crank or would flood it. So whenever it got flooded, we would fish. And as soon as we caught a fish, whoever caught it would try to crank it. And then usually after we caught one fish, because it probably took us 3 hours back then to catch one, usually the boat would crank because it would not be flooded. I don't know, for whatever reason it would crank. But after you got it to crank one time, it was good for the rest of the day. So I remember when I was in high school, that was the first time that high school bass fishing became a thing in Alabama. And I remember me and my best friend, we were walking behind the school one morning, and one of our teachers had a boat in the parking lot. It was like a super nice bass boat. Like we didn't have no boats like that. So we saw it, and I didn't even know whose truck it was, whose boat it was, or nothing. So we figured out which teacher had it. So we went to his room and actually talked to him about making a high school fishing team. So he said, yeah, he was kind of joking around about it. He said, yeah, I'd love to go down there to the small lake and fish every evening for practice. That'd be cool. Then he started doing research on it. And at the same time, there was a trail starting, and they were looking for schools to join. So we kind of started all at the same time, and we did that. And then we started traveling. Our first tournament, we didn't catch them. Boat about sunk. We ran out of gas twice. We had to take my mom to the bank, to the actual bank, because she was our boat captain. And this is what's crazy. This is the craziest part about it. Back then, they let me drive the boat. When I was like 15 or 16 years old, they let me drive the boat, and the boat captain just had to be there. So now you cannot do that. But I took my mom to the bank with the trolling motor. She got out with a tank of gas and went and got us some gas, came back to the boat, and then we was able to fish the rest of the day. Then the next tournament we went to, we actually came in second in the tournament, me and my high school best friend. So my very first tournament on the Bassmaster Elite Series, it was kind of like a huge coming out party for me being on the elites, because a lot of really good things happened. Number one, I caught a 10-pounder on the St. John's. That video went absolutely viral. Like, a lot of people found out who I was that day because I caught the 10-pounder. I top 10 the tournament, and it just seemed like, for whatever reason, that was supposed to happen. And I got, a lot of people, I got a lot of kind of media attention after that tournament. So from the very first tournament, it just kind of went crazy from there. So the 2023 season where I won AOY, that was kind of a perfect blend of like a schedule coming out that I really understand the lakes. And that's one of the things where over a 4-day tournament, you can find something like a pattern that the fish are doing, but whenever you really understand the lake that you're fishing, when those things start to change and the conditions change, it's really easy to stay with them and move all the time and stay kind of in front of the fish. So I felt like that entire year, it was just lakes that I really understood. Not that I've been to a lot of them before, but I really understood the lakes, and I stayed on top of the fish the whole time. And my practices just kind of all went the same, where I kind of got a few bites doing a lot of stuff, and I got to really get a feel for what was going on in the lakes. And that's what made me be able to be consistent through the entire year. So I mean, that season just kind of came together, and just a good blend for my style, So the coolest stuff about, since I've been a pro and fishing local tournaments at my house, is so early on, I like hyped my wife up online, on YouTube. And it was true. She understood where fish were going to be. So if I was fishing down a bank, she would not get up and fish until we got to the high percentage place. And then she would catch one a lot. So I like super hyped that up on YouTube. And then if she goes to a local tournament, like everybody acts way more scared of her than they are of me. So that's actually a really cool experience. And she hasn't fished with me in any tournaments at all in the past probably year and a half since the kid. But that was the coolest part of it, was everybody like, we might as well go to the house because Hunter's here.
Tell him hey.
Say, wave at the camera. He's curious, boy. He's one, and he runs around the house. I'm talking about full speed ahead. He runs everywhere. And having a son has changed a lot of my perspective on life, and just seeing how fast he can learn things. Like the information that he learns stacks so rapidly and so fast. It's like 6 months ago, he couldn't hardly walk. And then now he can just run all over the house, and it took him like just a couple of days of trying, and then just like his life is just completely different forever. And it's really made me think about it a lot over the past year. If you could learn even close to that, you would just be brilliant at anything you wanted to do. So it's kind of made me, seeing how fast he gets better at everything has kind of made me like not want to be complacent ever. But also it's just really cool to have those experiences and see, like right now he'll put a basketball in the basketball goal. Like it's just unbelievable. And he's never seen a basketball until like a week ago. So like it's unbelievable that he can do stuff like that and learn. And I mean, it's really cool to have somebody that, depends on you, and you're, around him all the time, and you're gonna be able to help him grow and help him learn. And then he's also taught me some stuff about learning, because we should never stop. I've been a professional angler for 6 years now, and I've worked with a lot of kind of partners. And a lot of times you talk to the guys who are in management or work for the companies, and you can tell that your input is just not heard. The partners that you have is just as much about the relationship with the people. So whenever I met the owner, anytime I've met anybody who is associated with iKon or works with iKon, they've been very easy to talk to and very receptive, and they have common goals as I do. Like as I want to improve at tournament bass fishing, they want to improve at building boats. Like they make one of the best boats on the market, but they want to get better and better and better and better. And that resonates with me and makes it really easy to want to partner with a company like that. Obviously the boat is, head and shoulders above everything else, but the biggest thing to me is I'm a very mobile fisherman. Like if you watch me fish, I'll walk around the boat a lot while I'm fishing. And the best part about the entire boat to me is how wide it is at the trolling motor foot pedal, because I get all over that thing. Like I walk over here, I walk over there, step up to the front, and that's the easiest, to me, that's the easiest selling point on me to fish out of the boat, is how wide it is at the front deck, and it holds that width. That was the coolest part about the boat that kind of caught my eye. So we just wrapped up the NPFL season, stop number 6, and we sealed the deal, won AOY. We started off in Alabama, we went all over the country, smallmouth, spotted bass, largemouth, just kind of everything. And to make it come together where you're the best person in the league over an entire year, that's what makes AOY so special and so sought after. And this is my first year running an iKon. I fished 2 different tours, lots of pro tournaments, all over the country. And you know, the boat performed flawlessly all year, had no hiccups that way. And that's one of the things that allows you to be able to compete for Angler of the Year titles, is day in and day out having consistency and reliability on everything that you use, you know. But to me, AOI is the #1 feather in your cap, because you know, you're the best over the course of a year. And that's extremely hard to do, because everybody's a professional, everybody's really, really good at catching them. So to go to lots of different bodies of water, it's just a huge accomplishment, you know, and I'm super proud of it.